Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima. Innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama barakta ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima. Innaka Hamidum Majid. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana zidna ilma ya muqallibal qulub sabbit qalbi ala dinik. Ameen. Today we'll do the third part of Surah Nur, um, in which we will do from verse number 32 till 45. وَأَنكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ إِنْ يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاءَ يُغْنِيهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Marry those from you who are unmarried, and those slave men and women who are righteous. If they are poor, then Allah will make each of them wealthy by His grace. Allah is of ample means, all knowing. وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفِ الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ نِكَاحًا حَتَّى يُغْنِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَالَّذِينَ يَبْتَغُونَ الْكِتَابَ مِمَّا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ فَكَاتِبُوهُمْ إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا وَآتُوهُمْ مِمَّا لِلَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ وَلَا تُكْرِهُوا. Translation: Those who are unable to marry should preserve their chastity until Allah grants them both independence through His grace. The above verse encourages the marriage of those who are unmarried. This applies to those who may never have been married before and to those who may be divorced or widowed. Since being unmarried could lead to one being overcome by his or her passion, Islam encourages people to marry and has promised great reward for it. Marriage serves as a fortress against sin and unlawful lust. Hazrat Anas bin Malik Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu reports that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, when a person marries, he has completed half of his deen. He should therefore strive for the another half by fearing Allah. Narrated by Mishkat, page 268. Hazrat Abdullah bin Masud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu narrates that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, O youth, those of you who have the ability should marry, because marriage is a means of lowering the gaze and protecting the chastity. These who cannot should fast, because fasting suppresses the passion. Narrated by Bukhari, volume 2, page 708. Castration and permanent birth control measures are not allowed in Sharia because Allah has granted man the ability to reproduce so that the human race can survive. Muslim parents are expected to produce Muslim children, and these will increase the ummah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Therefore, one cannot resort to means that terminate his ability to reproduce. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned, marry women who are loving and who can bear children, because I will boast about your man numbers before the other ummahs on the day of judgment. Narrated by Abu Dawud, volume 1, page 280. Hazrat Usman bin Maz'un Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu once requested permission from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to castrate himself. But Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the one who castrates another and the one who has himself castrated are not from us. The castration of my ummah is in fasting. Marriage is normally sunnah. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that 4 practices were common among all the Anbiya, that is, they are modesty, 2. Applying perfume. 3. Using the miswak. And 4. Marriage. The jurists have mentioned that marriage is wajib, obligatory for the person who has the mean to marry and feels that he will be unable to control his sexual passions and gaze. However, if he is unable to marry or cannot find a wife, he should fast. It will never be permissible for him to engage in sin in any of these circumstances. Modesty is one of the demands of Iman, and it is because of this inherent modesty that people are generally shy to look for their own partners. It will therefore be the duty of the partners or guardians to seek a partner for their sons and daughters. This is ordained in the above verse, where Allah says, "Marry those from you who are unmarried," that is, get them married. People have made marriage a burden for themselves today, and instead of seeking pious partners for their children, they look for people who are worldly and who have high position in this world. As a result, some women are still unmarried. When they reach an advanced age, these women then look for their own partners, look for a kafir court and contract their own marriage. Then the partners wail and lament over this. At this time, these marriages are not even recognized by the Sharia, causing couple to live in sin and to bear illegitimate children. All this sin and vice are caused by the same wailing parents. Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala narrates from that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "When you receive a marriage proposal from a person whose religious and moral integrity pleases you, then get him married. If you fail to do this, then extensive corruption will prevail on earth." Narrated by Tirmizi. Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu also reports that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "A woman is married for 4 reasons: 1. For her wealth; 2. For her family lineage; 3. For the beauty; and 4. For her religiousness." So marry the woman of religiousness and be successful. May Allah grant you understanding. Narrated by Bukhari. These two hadiths teach people to seek partners who are religiously inclined. It is indeed unfortunate that people squander large sums of money and time on extravagant weddings, delaying the function indefinitely. All this because their pride will not allow them to host simple functions. They fail to realize that the daughter of the greatest man on earth was married in the simplest manner when they are remained of this. They excuse themselves by saying that times have changed and that no person can marry today without a lavish function. They do not realize that they are merely emulating the kuffar when they should rather be following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hazrat Aisha radhiyallahu ta'ala anha reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Without doubt, the most blessed marriage is the one with the least expenses." Narrated by Mishkat, page 268. After commanding the marriage of free people, Allah then says that Muslims should also be concerned to arrange for marrying of those slave men and women who are righteous. Certain commentators have interpreted the verse to refer to those slaves who are capable of marrying. Whatever the interpretation, it will be mustahab for a master to seek a partner for his or her slave. The details of marriage pertaining to slaves are mentioned in the books of jurisprudence. If they are poor, then Allah will make each of them wealthy by His grace. Allah is of ample means, all knowing. Allah promises people in this verse that He will grant them financial assistance when they marry. They should never fear poverty, but should marry when the opportunity presents itself. Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu reports from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Allah has assumed the responsibility of assisting the following 3 persons. 1. The mukhatibs, slave who intends to repay his master. 2. The person who intends to marry the preserve his chastity. 3. The person who strive in Allah's way, narrated by Nasai. Those who are unable to marry because of the lack of resources should preserve their chastity until Allah grants them both independence through His grace. These people should never think that they will be permitted to fornicate until they are able to marry. They should be patient and keep fasting until Allah opens the way of them. Verse number 33 is continued. فتياتكم على البغاء إن أردنا تحصنا لتبتغوا أرز الحياة الدنيا ومن يكرهن فإن الله من بعد إكراههن غفور رحيم. You should enter into the contract of kitaba with those slaves of yours who desire to enter into it if you know of any good in them. Give them all Allah's wealth which He has given to you, and do not force your slave women into prostitution when they wish to remain chaste. Merely to seek the commodities of this world, however, force them then after His duties. Allah is certainly most forgiving, most merciful. Verse number 34. وَلَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتٍ مُبَيِّنَاتٍ وَمَثَلًا مِنَ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَمَوْعِظَةً لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. We have surely revealed clear laws to you, some narratives of those who passed before you, and advice for those who have taqwa. These are innumerable laws pertaining to slaves, which are found in the book of Hadith and Islamic jurisprudence. One of these is called Kitaba or Mukataba. This means that the master and slave enter into a contract whereby the slave has to gradually pay the master a certain sum to secure his freedom. The slave will then be free to earn money and he or she will be called mukatab. The two may agree on a time period within which the sum will be paid in installment. Otherwise, the slave may also take a loan from someone else to pay the master in cash. When the sum or the last installment is paid to the master, the slave immediately becomes a free man or woman. If the slave is unable to pay the sum or decides to return to slavery, he or she will again be the slave of the master as before. Darul Mansur, Volume 5, page 45, reports that a slave by the name of Subai was refused kitaba by his master. Hazar Hawati bin Abdul Uzza Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, it was then that the above verse was revealed, that is, you should enter in the contract of kitaba with those slaves of yours who desire to enter into it till the end. This has been reported in Malumat-e-Tanzil, Volume 3, page 342, with the addition that the master then stipulated a sum of 100 dinars, 20 of which he later remitted. The slave Subai was also a Sahabi Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu and was martyred in the Battle of Hunain. Since the verse contained a command to contract the deal, Hazrat Ata and Umar bin Dinar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu says that it is wajib for the master to enter into this contract when the slave requests to be freed for a sum that is equal to or more than his price. However, they say that the master is not obliged to enter into the contract when the slave wants freedom for a sum that is less than his or her purchase price. However, the vast majority of jurists state that the master is not obliged to enter into the contract. It will be best if he did, but he will not be sinful if he refuses. Narrated by Malumat-e-Tanzil. Allah adds the condition, if you know of any good in them, about the meaning of any good. Darul Mansur has reported from Abu Dawud and Bayhaqi that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam interpreted this phrase as any skill, The means that if the master knows that the slave knows by skill by which he can earn, he should be permitted to do so. He should not be permitted to beg from people. Darul Mansur also reports that Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu did not make a certain slave of his mukatib until he was until he was capable of earning. He used to say, if I were to let him earn while he was incapable of earning, it would be eating the filth of people, that the slave got by begging from people. The hadith has already been mentioned, which state that Allah will certainly assist the mukatib to pay his tribute. He should therefore can earn only what is halal. Other commentators have interpreted any good as being the fact that the slave performs all his salah. However, this does not seem correct because it would mean that a kafir cannot be a mukatib, whereas a kafir can be one. Others have interpreted any good to mean that the master is sure that after freedom the slave will not be burdened and menace to society. He should only be made a mukatib when the master is certain of this, that the slave poses no threat to society. Narrated by Ruhul Mani, volume 18, page 155. Give them from Allah's wealth which He has given to you. Malumat-e-Tanzil has reported that according to Hazrat Ali Raziallah Ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Usman Raziallah Ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Zubair Raziallah Ta'ala anhu, and Imam Shafi Rahmullah, this verse means that the master must remit a portion of the mukatib's debut. Hazrat Ali Raziallah Ta'ala anhu says that he must remit a quarter of it, while Hazrat Abdullah bin Abbas Raziallah Ta'ala anhu says that it should be a third. Imam Shafi Rahmullah and others say that the master has the choice to decide how much he wants to remit. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar Raziallah Ta'ala anhu remitted 5,000 dirham from his mukatib's original sum of 35,000. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala used to remit a fixed portion from the installment of his mukatibs and then remit an unspecified part of the final installment. Another interpretation of the above verse is that it is addressed to all the Muslims, not only to master of slaves. This means that all Muslims should assist mukatibs to pay off their debuts. According to other commentators, it means that people should give give zakah to these mukatibs because they have been cited as one of the recipients of zakat in Surah Tawbah. Narrated by Malumat-e-Tanzil, volume 3, page 343. Hazrat Bara bin Azib Raziallah Ta'ala reports that a villager once requested Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to inform him of a deed that would admit him into Jannah. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, "Free a soul or a neck." The person asked, "Are these two not the same?" Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied, "No, fearing a soul means that you free a slave from your possession, while freeing a neck means that you assist one to pay their price." Narrated by Mishkat, page 393. Allama Jizas Raziallah Ta'ala narrates in Ahkamul Quran, volume 3, page 322, that the master is not obliged to remit any part of the slave's debut. Of course, it will be considered an act of virtue if he did. He quotes his ruling from the likes of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, Imam Zufar, Imam Malik, and Imam Sufyan Thawri, Rahmullah. He also cites their proofs which refute the stance of those who state this is obligatory to remit a part of it. And do not force your slave women into prostitution when they wish to remain chaste, merely to seek the commodities of this world. Malumat-e-Tanzil reports that people were accustomed to the wild trade of prostitution during the period of ignorance. There were numerous brothers and women used to become very wealthy playing this trade. Many people force their slaves women to become prostitute, thereby earning the money paid to these women. However, Islam forbid prostitution and the money received from it. Narrated by Muslim. Darul Mansur, Volume 5, page 46, reports several narrations about how the leader of the Munafiqeen, Abdullah bin Ubay, was averse to this law because of his deep involvement in prostitution. When the law prohibiting adultery was revealed, some of his slave women refused to continue as prostitutes for him, after which he savagely beat them up. It was then that the above verse was revealed. Although the verse says that these women cannot be forced to the prostitution when they wish to remain chaste, it does not mean that they can be forced to do this when they do not wish to be. Do not wish to be chaste. Islam forbids all types of fornication, even if both parties are willing. These words are included in this verse because it refers to the incident of Abdullah bin Ubay, who claimed to be a Muslim. To get for whoever forced them then after his duties, Allah is certainly most forgiving, most merciful. This part of the verse means that Allah will forgive those slave women who are still forced by their masters and cannot assist them. We have surely revealed clear laws to you, some narrations of those who passed before you, so that you may take a lesson from these, and advice for those who have taqwa. Although the surah has been revealed for all people, those who have taqwa will benefit the most from it. Verse number 35, beautiful verse. Allahu nuru samawati wal ard, masalu nurihi kamishkati, fiha misbah, al misbahu fi zujaja, الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري يوقد من شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه النار نور على نور يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس والله بكل شيء عليم. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. The example of His light is like that of a nicky in which there is a lamp. The lamp is within a glass, and the glass appears to be a shining star. The lamp is lit with the blustery of the olive, which is neither easterly nor westerly. The oil is close to burning even though a fire does not touch it. Light upon light, Allah guides to His light whoever He desires, and Allah coins similitudes for people. Allah has knowledge of all things. Allah is the light of the heaven and the earth. Commentators interpret this verse to mean that Allah illuminates the heavens and the earth, both externally and internally, adding to the illumination of the heavens and the constant zikr and tasbih of the angel, whereas the earth derives illumination from the effort of the Anbiya alayhi salam. In spreading the celestial light of guidance, it is the light of Iman that ensure the survival of the heaven and the earth. Therefore, Iman becomes the light of the heavens and the earth. The example of his light is like that of a nikki in which there is a lamp. The lamp is within a glass, and the glass, because of its brilliance, appears to be shining star. The lamp is in itself illuminating, however, its radiance is supplemented by the clarity and amplification of the glass chasing. Added to this, the lamp is not fueled by oil from any ordinary tree, but the lamp is lit with the blessed tree of the olive, which is neither easterly nor westerly. This means that this tree benefits from the heat of the sun all day long because it never fails into any shadow. It grows on an open plain, receiving constant sunlight. The result of this is that olive oil burns very brightly and clearly. In fact, it is so volatile that The oil is close to burning even though a fire does not touch it. The conglomeration of all these contribution factors causes the scenario to be described as light upon light. Hazrat Hassan Raziallah Ta'ala Rahimullah and Hazrat Zaid bin Aslam Rahimullah says that the verses refer to the Quran. While Hazrat Sayyid bin Jubair Raziallah Ta'ala anhu is of the opinion that it denotes the personality of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Hazrat Abdullah bin Abbas Raziallah Ta'ala anhu and Hazrat Abdullah bin Masood Raziallah Ta'ala anhu say that the verse refer to the light that is instilled into the hearts of all mu'mineen, whereby they are guided. This is referred to in Surah Zumar, where Allah says, on the person whose heart Allah has opened to Islam, because of which he is upon a light from his Rabb. Verse number 22. Other commentators say that the verse refers to obedience. The author of Bayaan Quran says that Allah illuminate the heart of Mu'min with the light of guidance. The effect of this is that his heart becomes ever more receptive towards the injunctions of the Sharia. He is then ready to practice any command of Allah, even though he may not have knowledge of them all. This is so because attaining knowledge is a gradual process and cannot be attained all at once. Therefore, just as olive oil is ready for burning even before it is lit, the mu'min is ready to practice even before attaining the necessary knowledge when he does attain the knowledge. The light of practice is immediately ignited by the resolve to do so. In this manner, when knowledge is supplemented by practice, the display of light upon light is achieved. After attaining knowledge of any action, the mu'min does not delay in the least. This very light has been described in the verse, or the person whose heart Allah has opened to Islam, because of which he is upon a light from his Rabb. In the verse number 22. This is also referred to in the verse whose Allah wishes to guide. He expands his bosom for Islam. Surah Anam, verse number 125. Hazrat Abdullah bin Masood Raziallah Ta'ala reports that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had the following to say after reciting the verse, whoever Allah wishes to guide, he expand his bosom for Islam. He said, verily when the light is placed within the heart, it spreads. The Sahaba Raziallah Ta'ala anhum inquired, is there some sign by which this can be recognized? Yes, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam replied that a person distances himself from the place of deception, this world, that he turns his attention towards the place of permanence, the Akhirah, and that he prepares for death beforehand. This is the sign of the light, narrated by Mishkat, page 446. Allah guides to His light whoever He desires. Only Allah guides a person to Iman and to perform good deeds. The person then finds pleasure in forsaking his desires and engaging in good deeds. And Allah coins similitudes for people. Allah does this so that abstract objects may be understood by examples of concrete object. Allah will grant people their due rewards or punishment because Allah has knowledge of all things. Verse number 36. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. In homes concerning which Allah has commanded that reverence be shown and His name be mentioned, there are people who glorify Him morning and evening. رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار. Men whom neither trade nor commerce distract from the remembrance of Allah, the establishment of Salah and the paying of Zakah, they fear a day when their hearts and eyes will be overturned. Verse number 38. لِيَجْزِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنَ مَا عَمِلُوا وَيَزِيدَهُم مِّن فَضْلِهِ. Wallahu yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab, so that Allah may reward them with the best of rewards for their deeds and grant them an increase from His bounty. Allah sustains whoever He wills without count. The above verses viewed the masjid, plural of masjid, and the people associated with the masjid. The author of Jalalain interprets these verses to mean that the people who glorify Him, Allah, morning and evening, in homes concerning which Allah has commanded that reverence be shown and His name be mentioned, are the very same. When men may neither trade nor commerce distract from the remembrance of Allah, the establishment of Salah, and the paying of Zakah. Hazrat Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu says that the homes referred to in the verse and the masajid, Allama Baghawi rahmullah says in Malumat-e-Tanzil that the glorification of Allah day and night refers to the 5 daily Salah. The Fajr Salah is performed during the morning, and the other Salah are all performed after midday. The time of all the other Salah can fall within the purport of the Arabic word asal, translated above as evening. However, other commentators are of the opinion that the verse refers only to the Fajr and Asr Salah. Whichever Salah may be referred to, the fact is that the verse praises those men who is in the masajid. Glorify Him day and night. They are when whom neither trade nor commerce distract from the remembrance of Allah. The establishment of Salah and the paying of Zakah, they carry out all these duties despite their involvement in business. Malumat-e-Tanzil reports that Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala was once in the marketplace when, at the time of Salah, all the shops began to close for Salah. Saying this, Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala said that these are surely the people regarding whom Allah says, men whom neither trade nor commerce distract from the remembrance of Allah, the establishment of Salah and the paying of Zakah. There are very few businessmen who feel sacrifice their love for wealth for their love for Salah at the time of Asr, when their business are booming and the customers come pouring into their shops. This is true test for them. The verse makes mention of Zakah after Salah. This indicates that these people do not allow the love for their wealth to deter them from paying the full Zakah during from them. Many people do not pay their zakah at all, while others pay less than the due amount. There are people who gleefully pay zakah when it is a matter of a few coppers. However, when thousands or hundreds of thousands are due from them, they shrink away from the obligation thinking that it is too much. However, they fail to realize that Allah had given them that what they possess and ask for only 2.5% of zakah. If He had willed, He could have commanded them to give all their wealth away or could even destroy their salah. The intelligent mu'min realized that he will be rewarded by saying zakah and that the zakah will even ensure the protection of his wealth. Further describing the pious people, Allah says they fear a day when their hearts and eyes will be overturned. That is, they fear that they will summon to reckon for all their deeds on the day of Qiyamah. Allah says in Surah Ibrahim, He is only granting them respite until a day when gazes will be fixed upwards. They will be running with their heads fixed upwards, their gazes never returning to them, and their hearts will be empty. Verse number 42 and 43. Those who are apprehensive of the day of judgment will ensure that they carry out all the duties that are obligatory upon them and will abstain from all sins. Allah says in Surah Mu'minun, those who spend on what they have been granted and those hearts tremble because they have to return to their Rabb. Hazrat Aisha Raziyallahu Ta'ala once asked Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam whether this verse referred to those who drink liquor, and steal. He replied by telling her that it referred to those people who performed salah, fasted, and spent in charity. Whoever they always fear that Allah will not accept their deeds. Allah says regarding such people, these people hasten to perform good deeds and are the four runners in this, narrated by Mishkat, page 457. In homes concerning which Allah has commanded that reverence be shown and His name is mentioned, Hazrat Mujahid Rahmullah has interpreted this verse to mean that Allah has commanded men to build such masajid. Hazrat Hassan Basri Rahmullah has mentioned that it refers to respecting these places by not carrying out any act there that is contrary to its noble status, narrated by Malumat-e-Tanzil. Among the etiquette of the masajid is that they must be kept clean. To no evil poetry should be recited there. No trade should take place there. No lost item should be announced there. No raw garlic or onion should be consumed before entering them. Nor should worldly talks take place there. Among the activities of the masajid are that azan is given there, salah is performed, itikaf is performed, Islamic knowledge is imparted, recitation of the Quran take place, that is, all these have been encouraged in the hadith. Hazrat Abu Sayyid Khudri Rahmullah Raziyallah Ta'ala Anhu reports that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, when you see that a person is attached to the masjid, then attach to him his iman, because Allah says, only those who should tend Allah's places of worship who believe in Allah and the last day, establish salah, pay zakat, and fear Allah only. Narrated by Mishkat, page 69. Men whom neither trade nor commerce distract from the remembrance of Allah, the establishment of salah, and the paying of zakah. Certain ulama have deduced from the verse that the various activities of the masajid are reserved for men only. Although Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam permitted women to attend the masjid, he said their homes are best for women. Abu Dawud, volume 1, page 84 reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised that the most scheduled part of the woman's home is best for her to perform her salah. Allah concludes by saying, so that Allah may reward them with the best of rewards for their deeds and grant them an increase from His bounty. Allah sustains whoever He wills without count. Verse number 39. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَعْمَالُهُمْ كَسَرَابٍ بِقِيَّةٍ يَحْسَبُهُ الظَّمْآنُ مَاءً حتى إذا جاءه لم يجد شيئا ووجد الله عنده فوفاه حسابه والله سريع الحساب. The deeds of the disbelievers are like a mirage on a barren plain that a thirsty person thinks to be water. Until when he approaches it, he finds nothing. He finds only Allah's decision there, after which Allah grants him his full due. Allah is swift in reckoning. أو كظلمات في بحر لجي يغشى موج في من فوقه موج من فوقه سحاب ظلمات بعضها فوق بعض إذا أخرج يده لم يكد يراها ومن لم يجعل الله له نور فما له من نور. Or like the multiple darkness beneath a deep ocean, there covers him a wave, about which is another wave, about which there is a cloud. Darkness upon darkness. He is unable to see his own hand when he extends it before himself. There can be no light for the one for whom Allah has not ordained any light. The kuffar carry out many good deeds in this world, like charity, assisting the needy and the animals, erecting hospitals and water wells, etc., they think that these deeds will benefit them in the hereafter, but it will not be so. In the above verses, Allah describes the plight of these kuffar by citing two similitudes. The first is that of a person who has been lost in the wilderness. The extreme heat and depletion of water resources have made him extremely thirsty. Far off, he sees a mirage and thinking is to be water. Hasten to it. However, to his dismay, he finds nothing upon arrival. In the same way, the kuffar thinks that he will be rewarded in the hereafter for his good deeds. However, because he did not possess Iman, he will be dismally disappointed when he is not rewarded for these deeds in the hereafter. Allah says in Surah Furqan, we will then turn to their deeds and reduce it to scattered dust. However, they will not be completely derived of the reward for their good deeds and will be rewarded in this world. Hazrat Ans bin Malik anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "A mu'min will never be oppressed even about a single good deed. He will be rewarded in this world and the hereafter. However, the kuffar will be rewarded in this world for all the deeds he does for Allah. He, uh, he will be rewarded until there is nothing left for him to receive in the hereafter, narrated by Muslim. Allah says further about the kaffar's aspiration for reward, until when he approaches it, he finds nothing. He finds only Allah's decision there, after which Allah grants him his full due in this world. Allah is swift in reckoning. Allah then cites the second similitude when he says, or like the multiple darkness beneath a deep ocean, there covers him a wave above which is another wave above there, which is there a cloud. Darkness upon darkness, he is unable to see his own hand when he extends it before himself. In a similar way, the kuffar being swept in the darkness will never see the rewards for his deeds in the hereafter. Ibn Kathir, volume 3, page 296 says that the first similitude is that of those kuffar who are fooled by the belief that they will be rewarded for their deeds. The second example is of those people who blindly follow their leaders, having no clue about the condition of these leaders and about where they are being led. Other commentators state that the first similitude describes those kuffar who believe in the hereafter and hope that they will be rewarded there. The second similitude describes those kuffar who do not believe in the hereafter at all. They do not even have the hope of attaining rewards. Therefore, they do not carry out any good deeds and are in total darkness. Darkness upon darkness, Ibn Kathir reports from Hazrat Ubay bin Ka'b anhu, that the kuffar is immersed in 5 darknesses. His word is darkness is indeed in darkness, his entire into any building in is darkness. His exists in darkness, and on the day of Qiyamah he will be entered into the eternal darkness of Jahannam. There can be no light for the one for whom Allah has not ordained any light. The kuffar will dwell in darkness forever. This verse is the antithesis of the verse Allah guides to His light whomever He desires, as well as the verse on the person whose heart Allah has opened to Islam, because of which he is upon a light from his Rabb. Verse number 22. Now I'll recite few more verses. 41. Alam tara anna Allah yusabbihu lahu ma fis samawati wal ardi wat-tayru safati kullu qad alima salatuhu wa tasbihahu wallahu alimun bima yaf'alun. Do you not see that everyone in the heavens and the earth glorifies Allah, including the birds with their wings spread out. Each one knows its salah and mentioned and method of glorification, and Allah has knowledge of what you do. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ. To Allah belongs the dominions of the heavens and the earth, and to Him shall be the return. ألم تر أن الله يزجي سحابا ثم يؤلف بينه ثم يجعله ركاما فترى الودق يخرج من خلاله وينزل من السماء من جبال فيها من يرد فيصيب به من يشاء ويصرفه أما يشاء يكاد سنا برقه يذهب إبصار. Do you not see that Allah wafts the clouds, then condoles them and stack them in layers? After which you will see rain falling from between them, then from the mountains cloud in the sky. Allah showers down some icy by which He strikes whoever He wills, and averts from whoever He wills. The flash of His lightning can well nay snatch away eyesight. يُكَلِّبُ اللَّهُ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ. Allah orchestrates the alteration of the night and the day. There is undoubtedly a sign in which for these with foresight. Verse number 45. Wallahu khalaqa kulla dabbatin min ma'in فمنهم من يمشي على بطنه ومنهم من يمشي على رجلين ومنهم من يمشي على أربع يخلق الله ما يشاء إن الله على كل شيء قدير. Allah created every creature from water. Of these they are those who crawl on their bellies. These are those that walk on two legs and those that walk on four. Allah creates what He wills. Allah certainly has power over all things. Allah describes His creative power and His authority in these verses. However, He begins by describing the subservience of His creation to Him. Allah says, "Do you not see that everyone in the heavens and the earth glorifies Allah, including the bird with their wings spread out? They all attest to Allah's purity from all defects and associates. The fact that the birds are able to guide and hover in the air without falling in a testimony of Allah's immense creative powers. All these creatures glorify Allah in their own peculiar way. Some do so verbally because Allah has granted them the capability to speak to make clouds. In fact, the very existence of all these creatures indicates that Allah is the greater, for He has created them all and still continues to exercise supreme authority over them. Humans, angels, and the jinn have more sense and intelligence than other creatures, while the animals have these to a higher degree than plants and inanimate objects. However, they all actively engage in Allah's glorification and worship, even though man control perceive this. Speaking of the rocks, Allah says in Surah Baqarah, then they are even those that fall because of fear for Allah. Verse number 74. Allah says in Surah Hajj, do you not see that all within the heavens and the earth prostrate to Allah? One should refer to the commentary of these two verses for a deeper understanding of the subject at hand. Each one of Allah's creation knows its salah and method of glorification. Some commentators have interpreted the word salah to mean dua. However, salah could also refer to a special form of worship that every creation engages in, just as man performs his salah in a particular way. Allah says in Surah Bani Israel, there is nothing that does not glorify His praises, but you do not understand their glorification. Verse 44. Certain commentators have interpreted the meaning of salah and method of glorification as obedience and submission to Allah. This means that every creation carries out the duty it was created for just as they are commanded by Allah. What about those kuffar who do not accept the divinity of Allah? How can it be said that they also glorify Allah? In reply to this question, it may be said that the very existence of these people is simple evidence of Allah's divinity. Other commentators reply by saying that this verse is intended as an admonition to these people. It tells them that they are the only ingrates who are not glorifying Allah. Allah then says that He has knowledge of what you do. He knows of the detailed deeds carried out by the kuffar and the Muslims. Accordingly, He will reward and punish them. To Allah belongs the domination of the heavens and the earth, and to Him shall be He shall be the return. The leaders of this world merely appear to have command over their territories. However, Allah makes the final decision in every matter, especially in the hereafter. Allah then describes the authority that He wields in the skies. He says, "Do you not see that Allah wafts the clouds, then condenses them and stacks them in layers, after which you will see rain falling from between them. Then from the mountains, clouds in the sky, Allah showers down some destructive ice, by which He strikes whoever He wills and averts from whoever He wills." Allah then mentions that immense power seen in one of His creation. Allah says the flash of His lightning can well nigh snatch away eyesight. Lightning can also kill people and destroy property. Allah orchestrates the alteration of the night and the day. Although it appears that the sun and the moon function on their own, but they are in Allah's control, causing the night and the day to follow each other. There is undoubtedly a sign in this for those with foresight. These people will look for Allah's power and realize that He is the creator of everything. However, those who choose to remain blind to all of this cannot expect to be guided. After describing His power and control of the skies, Allah speaks of His authority on earth. Allah says, Allah created every creature from water, that is, from the drop of semen. Of these, there are those who crawl on their bellies like snakes. Astaghfirullah. There are those that walk on two legs like men, birds, etc. And those that walk on four. Allah creates what He wills. Allah creates the various creatures of the world in whatever fashion, color, dimensions, and properties He pleases. For example, He has granted the lizard the ability to walk on ceiling, whereas other creatures could fall down if they tried. In a like manner, every creature has its own peculiarities. All this clearly tells us that Allah certainly has power over all things. It may be said that all creatures are not created from a drop of semen, neither was Hazrat Adam alayhi salam created in this manner. Therefore, how can it be said that Allah created every creature from water? Commentators say that the verse speaks for the majority, since most creatures reproduce in this manner. Other commentators say that Allah initially created water. Therefore, He created fire from this water to create the jinn, light from this water to create the angels, and sand as well to create human beings. Narrated by Malumat al-Tanzil, Volume 3, page 351, and Ruhul Mani, Volume 18, page 193. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.